Hey, Whippersnappers, it's Tortimer the Great. Welcome back to another exciting new series here on the Tortimer Great Gaming channel. This is going to be a nice little mini-series. I think it's just going to be about 8 episodes, but I recently joined a Little Cup League, a Pokemon Showdown battling league, which is not something that I've ever participated in. Many of you guys may be familiar with that. You've watched other YouTubers or other people, or you participated in one yourself. But essentially, the way that this league works, it's called the Little Cup Federation. I was invited by a guy on Twitter, and it's a group of 9 guys. I've never met any of them before, but they seem like neat dudes, and we did a draft. So it's a Little Cup League, the Little Cup Federation, and the way that we selected the Pokemon we were allowed to use was we did a draft, a 12-round draft, so we have 12 Pokemon at our disposal. Only each Pokemon can only appear on one team because you can only use those Pokemon that you drafted. So if somebody picks something, then it's no longer available for other people to use. So it's really interesting. It kind of spreads the threats out a little bit, and it makes it for a really interesting Little Cup battling experience. So I'm going to quickly run through you guys which Pokemon I drafted. Many of you guys who are watching may be part of my Pokemon Discord, so you guys may have already been informed. I kind of kept you guys up to date with the draft because it was kind of fun and interesting, and you guys were having fun with that. So you may already have some idea of what we were doing here, but if you're not part of that, I'm going to run through it for you guys real quick. In the first round, so I was number 9 of 9, so I was the last one to pick, but the way that the draft worked, it kind of snaked, so it went 1 through 9 and then 9 through 1, so I had both my first and second round picks at the exact same time. So in the first round, I decided to go, having never done a draft before, I've never done anything like this before, and I'm not a hugely competitive battler in the first place, but in my mind, I'm like, all right, if I get my defensive cores together, because we've had lots of conversations in my Discord and throughout the course of doing battling, and especially in the tournament that we did, that those defensive cores are extremely important to any team. So it's like, all right, you know what, this probably isn't the smartest thing to do in the very first round. There was a lot of good Pokemon that I passed up, but I was like, you know what, I need my defensive cores to get through this, so I'm going to go Coughing and Bronzor. I've got my special defensive wall in Bronzor and Fumzy, my physical wall, locked in. I was like, if I've got those guys, I can hopefully make something work. So we do that. In round 3 and 4, I picked up Scraggy and Ghastly. In rounds 5 and 6, I picked up Natu and Carvanha. 7 and 8, I picked up Anorith and Bunnelby. I did miss out on, I think it was, so yeah, it was the round, it was just before I picked up Natu and Carvanha. I missed out on Apom. I was like, I can wait on Apom a little bit, so I pushed it out until my third set of picks. And the guy just before me took Apom, and I was so mad. If I had had Boots and Fumzy, I could have done this thing no problem. But we're going to make it work either way. So we picked up Natu, Carvanha, Anorith, Bunnelby, Magby, and Pick-a-Peck, and Squirtle and Voltorb. It's kind of an interesting, eclectic little grouping of Pokemon. Hopefully we're going to be able to make something work with it, because those are the only Pokemon we get a chance to use. At some point during the tournament, I do think there will be a chance for us to potentially do trades or pick up free agents, so we can potentially swap out Pokemon that didn't get drafted, and we might be able to make some trades. I think we are allowed up to 2 trades throughout the course of the season, so there's a chance we could potentially pick up some of these Pokemon that we find ourselves lacking at a certain point. But I'm pretty happy with the eclectic grouping of Pokemon that we picked up. And in this first week, we got matched up against Mark Daniels and the Kansas City Krookodiles. He had a very interesting grouping of Pokemon. I'll run through what he drafted real quick, and then I'll kind of talk to you guys about what I'm anticipating going into this battle, what I kind of predicted that he would bring based on what I had seen. So Mark drafted Chinchou, Ferroseed, Drillbur, Growlithe, Fletchling. So you got some really big threats there. Even just in his ability to do where he was drafting, he was able to pick up some good threats there. Trubbish, Pancham, Tyrunt, Togepi, Sandygast, Meowth, and Cubone. So he's got some really good Pokemon on his team. Going into this draft, you know, I kind of anticipated, especially because he put up a draft analysis, and he kind of talked about how he was looking at, he's got these 3 cores, how he's got his grass, water, fire core, so no matter what people switch in, he can, switch something in to counter them. He also was talking about how he has his steel dragon fairy core and things like that. So going into this, I anticipated, all right, so the 6 Pokemon I kind of planned against and expecting to see, Chinchou, Ferroseed, Drillbur, and Growlithe. Chinchou, Ferroseed, and Growlithe being his Water, Fire, Grass core. Drillbur just being an overall amazing Pokemon that if you have it at your disposal, you're going to bring it. Mold Breaker is amazing, and Drillbur's just, tough to beat. So obviously expecting Drillbur. Fletchling, I figure, get Gale Wings. If he's got Drillbur there to get rid of rocks, then he's got Gale Wings, Fletchling at his disposal. Who's going to say no to that? And then I kind of threw it up based on what he was, what I expected from him, that probably the wild card was going to be that 6 Pokemon, and probably either Trubbish or Pancham were going to come in. And so that's kind of what I planned against. I decided to come in, well, you guys will see here in a second as we jump into the battle, but I was kind of planning against Chinchou, Ferroseed, Drillbur, Growlithe, Fletchling, and then either Trubbish or Pancham. I figured we had a pretty good matchup for those kinds of Pokemon. We had a decent number of Psychic Pokemon or Psychic moves that we could easily take care of either of those wild cards, so I wasn't too worried about it going in. But that's enough talking. Most of these episodes won't be this much talking because I wanted to. A lot of people did like draft analysis and like team building analysis and things like that. I don't know enough to really like make one of those a really an interesting video, so I figured I'd just kind of walk you guys through what we're doing here with the Little Cup Federation. And again, it's a 9-week thing. We get a bye 1 week, so we'll only have 8 battles, so 8 episodes in this little mini series. If you guys have any questions on how any of that worked, feel free to let me know. And let's jump into the battle now and just kind of, I'll walk you guys through how it went. Here we go. Alrighty guys, our first battle up against Mark Daniels with the Kansas City Krookodiles. Now I decided to lead with Carvana here. I was originally thinking that I would lead Natu, but because Natu has magic bounce, which I figured would help me get free rocks up on them by bouncing their rocks back, and would keep me from getting rocks set up on me. But somebody brought to my attention in my Discord, well, Tort, Mold Breaker Drillbur is going to, negate magic bounce too. I was like, oh crap, you're right. So decided, I'll lead Carvana, and Carvana will at the very least be able to take out Drillbur. And so I stay in. Here's probably one of my biggest misplays is I leave Norton in against the Chinchou. I'm like, you know what? I didn't really have anything that I didn't have a ground type Pokemon on my team, and I didn't really want to switch somebody in to a hard hit from a Chinchou. And I was like, alright, Carvana, I'll let you go out, do some good damage to the Chinchou, but we don't need you, because the reason I brought Pick-a-Peck here, you guys can see that my team is Bronzor, Coughing, Carvana, Natu, Pick-a-Peck, and Scraggy. I brought Pick-a-Peck because Pick-a-Peck has an interesting little niche. Pick-a-Peck has the Skill Link ability, which means that multi-hit moves hit the maximum number of times. Pick-a-Peck also has access to Bullet Seed, and in my testing, Bullet Seed was extremely effective at finishing off both Chinchou and Drillbur, so I decided at that point I didn't need Carvana anymore. I was going to say Pick-a-Peck for Drillbur. That may end up proving to be an error, but we'll see how it plays out. Lol goes down to Growlithe, kind of the similar situation. I decided to leave Lol in because I figured that as low as Growlithe was, the Flare Blitz damage was going to finish it, and I figured Lol was pretty low. I should just let her go out, take down the Growlithe with her. I didn't have anybody else that I really wanted to switch into a hard hit from the Growlithe. So, sacrifice Lol. Doing sacrifice plays this early sometimes pays off, sometimes does not. Fumzy, it comes in here on the Fletchling. I'm going to take that hard flame charge. The Acrobatic's going to come up, take Fumzy down to just under half. He's going to throw up the Will-O-Wisp here to at least weaken the Fletchling a little bit. Fletchling is then going to set up the Sword Dance here on the next turn. Set up the Swords Dance here on the next turn. I've got it going on a little bit of a slower pace so that I have actually time to kind of walk through everything that we're doing here before it runs out. Sets up that Sword Dance. Fumzy going to heal up with the Pain Split, take a little burn damage there from the Fletchling, and then we're going to throw up the Clear Smog here after taking out an Acrobatics there. Even with the Swords Dance, that burn is keeping us in the game, getting that Cleared Smog going, doing some good damage to the Fletchling, and especially in combination with the burn, and getting rid of all of those stat boosts there. So Fumzy doing his job. Fletchling then going to switch on out, realizing it's not going to get any headway with the Coughing, bringing in that Drillbur. Especially now that Fletchling is out, it's very important to the Kansas City Krookodiles to get rid of those rocks. Otherwise, Fletchling and even their Chinchou are not going to have any chance of getting back into the game. At this point, he predicts that I'm going to switch into somebody else in in anticipation of a mold breaker earthquake. I decide to predict that prediction and stay in with Fumesy. They switch into Pancham there, and Fumesy, I believe, is going to come out at this point. Yes, Fumesy comes out, and we are going to bring in Quahu, who is my Natu, and going to throw up the Psychic there. Not enough to finish off the Pancham, which is a little disappointing. I was getting better power out of Natu during my testing. Pancham, I believe, is ED lighted though, but still going to do hard damage to Quahu before going down there. So now we're 4-3. Drillbur then switches in at this point, breaks that mold. Quahu is going to take a hard rock slide and go down. At this point, I bring in Pick-a-Peck. Now, my goal here, as I kind of laid out, I've got this Skill Link Bullet Seed, and I got a Choice Scarf. Usually, going up against Drillburs, it would outspeed easily. They both are at the same speed tier, 17. Unfortunately, they were both holding Choice Scarfs, and Drillbur won that speed tie, which it effectively finishes the round for me. Kind of put all my eggs in that little bird's basket, and didn't end up playing out there. That speed tie ruined it for us. Hal and Fumesy, in a perfect world, could whittle down Drillbur, but not with the Mold Breaker Earthquake there, ruining their ability to levitate. And Drillbur is going to sweep through the rest of the team here. Hal goes down. Fumesy then going to switch in and finish off with the Earthquake. So our first battle in the Little Cup Federation is indeed a loss. I'm kind of taking this kind of casually. I'm not, you guys have my own viewership know, I'm not a hugely competitive person in the first place. Using some Pokemon that I've never even touched before. I don't think I've ever had a Carvana, a Pick-a-Peck, or a Natu on any team that I've ever built. And so getting the feel for them, doing moderate testing, but not really knowing what you're going up against, it's difficult to really get a good balance. I had some strategies that I thought were going to work out, but then in the end, they didn't. Very smart move on Mark's, on the Kansas City Krookodiles side, for running Choice Scarf on all of those guys, because able to fairly easily get in there and finish off whatever I had remaining. But the upside being that next week I think we're playing the Surrey Lit Leos, and we don't have to worry about Drillbur. So like I said, Drillbur, Chinchou, Fletchling, Pharaoh's Seed. He's got a lot of threats in his roster over at the Krookodiles, and we don't have to see any of them again unless he does some trades throughout the course of this little mini-series. So that'll be nice. You kind of get your threats one and done, and now we can kind of take a look at what's coming up next week and prep for that, which we will do. There's going to be, we're kind of doing it as a weekly thing, so we'll have to do one battle a week, and from there. This league is running on a point system. Honestly, I have no idea how the point system works. I've never watched any leagues or done any leagues before, so I don't know how that works. I believe, I asked the question in chat, and the only person who responded seemed to think that you get points based on how many Pokemon you have remaining at the end of a battle. So in that instance, Mark would get 2 points for this battle. I would obviously get none, but we're going to regroup. Kind of just, again, taking it kind of casual, as I do with most of my competitive battling. Not a big deal. It's just kind of a fun, interesting. The draft thing was really an interesting thing to me, and so we're going to kind of play it out and see how it goes. I think it'll be fun for you guys to watch. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Tortimer the Great, and you guys have been great. I'll see you guys next week for our match up against what I believe it's the Surrey Lit Leos. But we'll double check that, and I will see you guys then. Alrighty, guys. Make sure those likes, comments, subscriptions for me. Have a good one.